ततः श्वेतैर्हयैर्युक्ते महती स्यन्दने स्थितौ माधवः पाण्डवश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्खौ प्रदध्मतु.
Then too, Madhav, Krishna, and Pandu's son, Arjun, seated in the magnificent chariot to which white steeds were yoked, blew their celestial conchas. After the Kaurav, Krishna and Arjun, riding in their magnificent sacred chariot, drawn by flawlessly white horses, white here symbolizes purity, also blow their celestial conchas. The word celestial here means beyond the material world. Yogeshwar Krishna's transcendental message is a promise to render unto souls the most auspicious, unworldly existence that is beyond the worlds of both mortals and gods, and verily the whole universe, Brahmalok, which are all afflicted with the fear of birth and death. The chariot under his charge is not made of gold and silver and wood. Everything about him is celestial, the chariot, the conch, and therefore also his message. Beyond these worlds there is only the one unique and indescribable God. Krishna's message is of establishing a direct contact with this supreme being. But how will he effect this state?
पाञ्चजन्यं ऋषिकेशो देवदत्तं धनञ्जयः पौण्ड्रं दध्मौ महाशङ्खं भीमकर्मावृकोदरः.
While Rishikesh, Krishna, blew his conch, Panchjanya, and Dhananjay, Arjun, the conch named Devdut, the Vrikodar, Bhim, of awesome deeds, blew the great conch, Poundra. So Rishikesh, Krishna, master and lord of the senses, who knows all the mysteries of the human heart, blows the conch, Panchjanya. This is a declaration of his intent to restrain the 5 organs of perception, which correspond to word, touch, form, taste, and smell, and to transmute their inclinations into devotion. Exerting control and mastering the wild senses, and disciplining them into faithful servitors, is the gift from an accomplished teacher, the gift indeed from the admired God. Krishna is a yogi, an accomplished teacher. As Arjuna says in the Gita, "Lord, I am thy disciple." It is only a noble teacher who can make us relinquish all objects of sensual pleasure, and to see and listen to and touch nothing except the desired God. Dhananjay, a name given to Arjuna which means the victor of wealth, is the affectionate devotion that attains to the state of divine exaltation. This devotion is a feeling of tenderness for the desired object, which includes within itself all the experiences of devotees, even pangs of separation and occasional disenchantment and tears. There should be nothing for a devotee except the longed-for God. If the devotion to him is perfect, it embraces the virtues that provide access to the Supreme Spirit. Dhananjay is another name of this faculty. One kind of wealth is the external riches which are needed for physical sustenance, but that has nothing to do with the self. The really lasting wealth of man, which he can truly call his own, is realization of his self, the God within. In the Upanishad Brihadaranyaka, Yajnavalkya teaches the same to his wife Maitreya when she asks him, "My Lord, if this whole earth belonged to me with all its riches, should I through its possession attain immortality?" The sage replies, "No, your life would be like that of the wealthy. None can possibly hope to be immortal through wealth." Bhim, the warrior of awesome deeds and one of Arjuna's 4 brothers, blows his great conch, ponder, which denotes sentiment. The heart is the spring as well as the habitat of feeling. This is why Bhim is called Vrikodar, the large-hearted. You are attached to a child, but that attachment belongs essentially to your heart. It only manifests itself in the child. Sentiment is fathomless and mighty, and this sentiment is Bhim's great conch that is now blown. The affection that he represents is embodied in sentiment. That is why Bhim blows the conch named Pandra. However, although sentiment is mighty, it can be so only through the medium of love. Goswami Tulsidas admits that he has known the omnipresence of God only through its manifestation in love.
So welcome guys. Kunti is the mother of Pandavas, the 3 brothers. Nakul is the 4th youngest brother after Arjuna. Sahadev is the youngest of all 5 brothers. And satsang, there will be a word mentioned which means like a social gathering where leaders give messages of positivity and motivation to the listeners to motivate them to do something better in their life. But it is mostly related to spiritual knowledge, and spiritual knowledge comes beyond scientific knowledge like science knowledge or motivation knowledge. Sanjay works for Dhritarashtra, the blind king, father of Duryodhana, the opponent, fighting against Arjuna, representing the positive side. Sanjay has been given a boon that he can see what's happening in the battlefield and report the same to the king Dhritarashtra, sitting miles away from the battlefield like a TV commentator. I know it's hard to believe about such a boon as well about the other boons mentioned previously. But right now just focus on Bhagavad-Gita, as all the doubts will be answered within Gita itself. Right now you can consider it as a science fictional movie. Shikhandi was the reason Bhishma was killed, who had the boon that he can die when he wishes to die. So there is a thing to kill everybody because nobody can live forever. So like you will see in Bhagavad Gita, like whenever you think it's impossible to do that, but still Krishna will find a way to do that, because for him nothing is impossible. Like he will give you the reasons as well. You should not commit to something because you are not allowed to make the future like fixed, because only you have present that you can do something about. The future is unpredictable, so you can't make your future fixed by taking any kind of oath that I will do this, because you have to break your oath as well if the requirement and the society or any other requirements are necessary. So you may need to break it. So don't commit to something that you are not even allowed, because future is unpredictable. Like you can't make only present is in your hand, guys.
Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthirah Nakulah Sahadevascha Sugoshamani Pushpakau.
King Yudhishthir, the son of Kunti, blew the conch Anant Vijay, whereas Nakul and Sahadev blew their conches Sukhosh and Mani Pushpak. King Yudhishthir of the Pandav, one of the brothers of Arjuna, blows the conch Anant Vijay, which means endless conquest. Kunti, his mother, is the very image of dutifulness, and Yudhishthir, the embodiment of dharma, or natural piety. If one's adherence to dharma is steady, Anant Vijay, endless conquest, will bring about the absorption of the self in the boundless God. The one who is firm in battle is Yudhishthir, one who is unshaken by the conflicts between self and the material world, between the body and the transcendental soul, and to whom the essence of the sphere of action has been revealed. he is enabled eventually by God, who alone is real, ceaseless, and immutable, to overcome all the contradictions. Nakul, who is a symbol of restraint, blows the conch named Sughosh. As restraint grows firmer, evil is subdued and the dominance of righteousness is proclaimed. Sahadev, the adherer to truth, blows on the conch which bears the name of Manipushpak. Sages have described each breath as a precious ruby. As is said, what a pity that we squander the jewels of our breath on idle gossip. One kind of satsang is the moral discourse we hear from noble men, realized sages, accomplished teachers. But the real spiritual discourse is internal. According to Krishna, the self alone is true and eternal. True satsang comes about when the mind reins itself in from all externals and dwells with the self. This adherence to truth is cultivated by incessant reflection, meditation, and samadhi. The more joy one feels in dwelling with the one reality, the more restraint one gains over each breath, the mind, and the instruments by which objects of sense affect the self. The day they are totally restrained is the day when we are absorbed in the ultimate essence. Providing, like a good instrument, harmonious accompaniment to the song of the self is true satsang. The physical ruby is hard, but the jewel of breath is even more tender than a flower. Flowers fall and wither soon after they bloom, and we can never say that we shall live until the next breath. But if there is true adherence to the self, it leads us to realize the highest goal through providing control over each breath. There is nothing to proclaim beyond this, although each device is helpful in traversing a certain stretch of the path of spiritual perfection. Sanjay further speaks on the subject.
काश्यश्च परमेश्वासः शिखण्डी च महारथः धृष्टद्युम्नो विराटश्च सात्यकिश्चापराजितः द्रुपदो द्रौपदेयाश्च सर्वशः पृथिवीपते सौभद्रश्च महाबाहुः शङ्खान् दद्मुः पृथक् पृथक्.
The king of Kashi, a great bowman, Shikhandi, who dwells in the Supreme Spirit, the unvanquished Drishtadyumna, Virat and Satyaki, Drupad and the sons of Draupadi, and Subhadra's son of powerful arms, Abhimanyu, all blew, O Lord of the earth, their own conchas. The sacred city of Kashi is an emblem of the sacredness that resides in the physical body. When a man withdraws his mind and sense organs from all physical things and concentrates on the self within his body, he is privileged to merge with and dwell within God. The body which is capable of such a union is Kashi. The Supreme Spirit dwells in and pervades every single body. So Parmashwasa here means dwelling in the Supreme Spirit rather than a mighty warrior. Shikhandi represents the rejection of Shikha Sutra, sacred signs traditionally worn by Hindus. There are people who believe they have achieved renunciation just because they have got their heads shaved clean, cast away their sacred threads, and stopped lighting fire. But they are mistaken, for as a matter of fact, Shikha symbolizes a goal which has to be attained, and Sutra, the merits of action in a previous existence, sanskar. The chain of sanskar is intact so long as God has yet to be realized. How can there be true renunciation till the moment of that fulfillment? Till then, we are only wayfarers. Delusion subsides only when the desired God is attained, and the merits of previous deeds are reduced to nothing. So it is Shikhandi who proves to be the undoing of Bhishma, the image of delusion and self-deception. Shikhandi represents the unique quality that is essential for the man who chooses the path of reflection, a truly mighty fighter on his side. Drishtadyumna, one of the great warriors on the Pandav side, represents the steadfast mind that treasures faith in the universal, immutable divinity, and the warrior Virat, capable of perceiving the omnipresence of the great God. These two are the main constituents of sacred excellence. Satyaki is truthfulness. There can never be a fall from piety as long as there is truthfulness or the desire to ponder over truth. It always protects us from being routed in the war between spirit and matter. Drupad, representing the ideal of consistency and steadfastness in the performance of duty, the 5 sons of meditation like Draupadi, symbols of compassion, tenderness, beauty, and spiritual repose, who are all great warriors providing assistance to the quest for the desired goal, and the long-armed Abhimanyu, all below their separate conscious. The word arm, as used here, is a symbol of the sphere of action. When the mind is freed from fear, its reach is immensely enlarged. So Sanjay once again addresses the blind king Dhritarashtra and acquaints him with how the chiefs of the Pandav army have made their proclamations with their conscience. Each one of them is a prerequisite of the skill of traversing a certain length of the way to spiritual liberation. Their observance is necessary, and that is why they are enumerated in detail. However, there is, after these preliminary stages, that stretch of the path which is beyond the perceiving mind and intellect. This is the length along which one is enabled to travel only by the blessedness of the great God's awakening within the self. He stands up from the self as vision and is self-evident.
सघोषोऽधार्तराष्ट्राणाम् हृदयानि व्यदारयत् नभश्च पृथिवीं चैव तुमुलो व्यनुनादयन्.
The loud tumult, reverberating through heaven and earth, pierced the hearts of Dhritarashtra's sons. The great tumult, echoing through heaven and earth, rends the hearts of Dhritarashtra's sons. There is the Pandav army also, but the hearts that are rent are only those of the Kaurav, of Dhritarashtra's sons. When the mana of Panchjanya, made up of true knowledge, realization of the infinite, destruction of evil, and affirmation of piety, begins to flow, the Kaurav hearts, with their unrighteous and outward-looking impulses, can only be rent. Their power wanes by and by, and if the process meets with success, infatuation ceases to exist altogether.
अथ व्यवस्थितान् दृष्ट्वा धार्तराष्ट्रान् कपिध्वजः प्रवृत्ते शस्त्रसम्पाते धनुरुद्यम्य पाण्डवः ऋषिकेशं तदा वाक्यम् इदमाह महीपते सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये रथं स्थापयमेच्युत यावदेतान्निरीक्षेऽहम् योद्धुकामानवस्थितान् कैर्मया सह योद्धव्यम् अस्मिन् रणसमुद्यमे.
Then, O king, after viewing the sons of Dhritarashtra in array, when the discharge of missiles was about to commence, Kunti's son Arjun, whose ensign bore the image of Hanuman, raised his bow and spoke to Rishikesh thus: O Achyut, Krishna, keep my chariot between the two armies, so that I may watch those who are formed up for combat, and know whom I have to fight in the ensuing battle. Sanjay, an epitome of self-restraint, endeavors to enlighten the mind of Dhritarashtra, lying under a pall of ignorance, by pointing out that apart from the other exemplary captains of the Pandav army, there is the Hanuman ensign of Arjun. Hanuman, a symbol of true renunciation. Disenchantment with the world and the desire to renounce it are the mark of Arjun's battle standard. Some interpreters have named this standard the, quote, monkey ensign because of its frenzied fluttering. But this is unacceptable, for the primate exhibited on the ensign is no common monkey, but the god Hanuman himself, who has risen above all distinctions. To him honor and dishonor are the same. Giving up lust for material objects which have been heard or seen, of worldly objects and sensual pleasures, is renunciation. So, after having seen Dhritarashtra's sons arrayed just when missiles are about to be launched, Arjun, whose distinctive motto is renunciation, lifts his bow and speaks to Rishikesh, the lord and master of the senses and knower of the mysteries of the heart, addressing him as the infallible. He requests his charioteer, Krishna, to station the chariot between the two armies. His words, however, are not words of command to a charioteer, but a prayer by a devotee to the worshipped one, a noble sage and accomplished teacher. But why does he want Krishna to park the chariot? Arjun wants to ascertain well who the warriors intent upon battle are, whom he has to fight in this business of warfare.
योत्स्यमानानवेक्षेऽहम् य एतेऽत्र समागताः धार्तराष्ट्रस्य दुर्बुद्धेर् युद्धे प्रियचिकीर्षवः.
Because I wish to observe those who have assembled here to fight for pleasing Dhritarashtra's wicked-minded son Duryodhan in the battle. Arjun wants the chariot to be parked in front of the Kauravas so that he may see the kings desirous of battle, who have joined the evil-minded Duryodhan for the sake of his happiness, for Duryodhan who represents excessive attachment. Arjun wishes to observe well the kings who have assembled to fight in the war for the cause of infatuation of Duryodhan, the usurper king.
एवमुक्तो ऋषिकेशो गुडाकेशेन भारत सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये स्थापयित्वा रथोत्तमम् भीष्मद्रोणप्रमुखतः सर्वेषां च महीक्षिताम् उवाच पार्थ पश्यैताम् समवेतान् कुरुनिति.
Thus addressed by Gudakesh, O descendant of Bharat, Dhritarashtra, Rishikesh parked the unique chariot between the two armies, in front of Bhishma, Drona, and all the other kings, and said, Behold, O son of Pritha, Arjun, the assembled Kuru. Sanjay thus informs Dhritarashtra how on being requested by Arjun, who has mastered sleep, Krishna, who knows all that is to know of the mind and heart, parks the chariot of unexcelled beauty in the midst of all the kings who have staked out claims on the earth, which is the body in macrocosm, and asks Part Arjun to behold the assembled Kaura. The, quote, excellent chariot in question is made of neither gold nor silver, nor of any material substance. Excellence is defined in this world in terms of its agreeableness or disagreeableness to the mortal body. But such a view is misleading, for that alone is excellence which is always one with the real, the self, and which has no unrighteousness or impurity about it.
So Hanuman is also another immortal out of the 7 immortals which were mentioned. So he has another life story which is also famous as Ramayana. Consider Ram as the old version of Krishna. When Ram level up, he becomes Krishna. Like when he increases his level. Like if you guys watch Dragon Ball Z, so it's something like that. Like when you become Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3. So Krishna is the last level. Like after that, nothing is like possible. That's the last level. So Hanuman has an ape-like body who is human-like with immense strength and who has conquered over his mind and has devoted his life to the service of Ram. He is not participating in this battle, but his signature flag is on Arjuna's chariot. Basically, Hanuman will submerge himself in the flag, so he just becomes a witness, but his all strength will be transferred to Arjuna's chariot. So it was requested by Krishna, because Krishna is basically Ram. So he requested his like the Bhakt, Hanuman is the Bhakt of Ram, which is basically Krishna. So that's why he needed him in this war too, because he has immense strength and he has conquered all of his desires. Like he can take a form of a very small insect and he can become very large, you know. So depending upon the situation, you guys also have to behave like that. Sometimes you have to make your ego very small, sometimes you have to increase your ego, like, so that gives you that kind of motivation, how to transform yourself, like how to control yourself in every kind of situation. Like according to me, as well as ISKCON, which I don't believe in on all of their theory, but I agree to some of their points. So Battle of Mahabharata is real. So you surely would have this doubt that how is it related to us? Why should we listen to Bhagavad-Gita? The answer I already explained, because we must compare all the characters of Mahabharata with our inner and negative traits.
तत्रापश्यत् स्थितान् पार्थः पितॄनथ पितामहान् आचार्यान् मातुलान् भ्रातॄन् पुत्रान् पौत्रान् सखींस्तथा श्वशुरान् सुहृदश्चैव सेनयोरुभयोरपि तान् समीक्ष्य स कौन्तेयः सर्वान् बन्धूनवस्थितान् कृपया परयाविष्टो विषीदन्निदमब्रवीत्.
Parth Arjun then saw, mustered in the 2 armies, uncles, granduncles, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons and friends, as well as fathers-in-law and well-wishers. Seeing all these kinsmen assembled together and overwhelmed by intense pity, he spoke thus in great sorrow. Parth, Arjun, the perfect marksman who has made a chariot of his earth-formed body, looks at the army and sees his kinsmen. What is noteworthy here is that in the 2 armies he sees only his own family, the families of maternal uncles and of fathers-in-law, friends and teachers. According to scholarly estimates, the 2 armies of the Mahabharata consisted of 18 Akshauhini chariots, elephants, horses, and foot soldiers, which is approximately 650 million, a very large number indeed. It hardly needs saying how the world is faced today with numerous grave problems of food and housing on account of overpopulation. So what are we to make of it when we are told that just 3 or 4 families of Arjun's kinsmen are so large in number? Is it possible for any family to be so huge? The answer must be in the negative. So what we have here is a portrayal not of physical armies, but of the sphere of the mind and heart. Overcome with deep compassion, when he sees all his kinsmen mustered for battle, Arjuna speaks in grief. He grieves because he sees that he has to fight his own family.
दृष्ट्वेमं स्वजनं कृष्ण युयुत्सुं समुपस्थितम् सीदन्ति मम गात्राणि मुखं च परिशुष्यति वेपथुश्च शरीरे मे रोमहर्षश्च जायते गाण्डीवं स्रंसते हस्तात् त्वक्चैव परिदह्यते न च शक्नोम्यवस्थातुं भ्रमतीव च मे मनः.
Arjuna said, "Seeing these kith and kin mustered with the purpose of waging war, O Krishna, my limbs grow weak, my mouth is dry, my body trembles, my hair stands on end. The Gandiv, Arjuna's bow, slips from my hand. My skin is burning all over. I am unable to stand, and my mind is bewildered." Looking at the gathering of his kinsmen, Arjuna is unnerved. His body grown inert, his mouth is parched, his limbs tremble, and his hair stands erect. The Gandiv falls from his hand, and his skin is hot. He is sorely distressed by the prospect of a war in which his own kinsmen face him. He is confused. He bewails that he cannot even stand properly and look ahead.
निमित्तानि च पश्यामि विपरीतानि केशव न च श्रेयोनुपश्यामि हत्वा स्वजनमाहवे.
I see, O Madhav, Krishna, inauspicious portents, and I can perceive no profit in the idea of slaughtering kinsmen in the battle. Arjuna sees adverse signs of the impending war. He does not see anything propitious in the slaying of his own family. How can any good result from such killing?
न काङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्ण न च राज्यं सुखानि च किन्नो राज्येन गोविन्द किं भोगैर्जीवितेन वा.
I aspire, O Krishna, after neither victory nor a realm and its pleasures, for of what avail is sovereignty to us, O Govind, Krishna, or enjoyment, or even life itself? Arjuna's whole family is on the brink of war, so he does not wish for either victory or the kingdom that this victory may bring him, or even the pleasures of that kingdom. Of what use will be a kingdom or enjoyment or life to him? He then states the reasons for his reluctance to fight in the war.
येषामर्थे काङ्क्षितं नो राज्यं भोगाः सुखानि च तैमेव स्थिता युद्धे प्राणांस् त्यक्त्वा धनानि च.
They for whose sake we crave for a kingdom, pleasures and enjoyments, are formed up here, putting at stake both their life and wealth. The family, for whose sake Arjuna has desired the happiness of a kingdom and other pleasures, is now mustered on the battlefield despairing of its life. If he had desired a kingdom, it was for them. If he had hungered for the pleasures of wealth and indulgence, it was because he wanted to enjoy it along with his kith and kin. But he now desires neither a kingdom nor pleasures, nor enjoyment, because he sees his kinsmen standing against him without any hope of life. Whatever he had desired was dear to him for their sake. But he does not need these things if he has to get them at the cost of his kinsmen. Desires remain as long as there are family ties. Even a poor man, having only a wretched hovel to live in, will not accept an empire extending over the length and breadth of the world, if for this he has to kill his family, friends, and kinsmen. Arjuna says the same thing. He is fond of pleasures, and he loves victory, but of what good can they be to him if the very people for whom he desires these rewards are no longer with him? Of what use will enjoyment of pleasures be in their absence? After all, who are the people he will have to kill in the war?
And the three worlds mentioned are hell and earth in between and then heaven. But Bhagavad-Gita will take you to a level higher than heaven too, which is not mentioned anywhere else, even in Bible, Quran, or any other religious books or non-religious books. So it will take you to the last level, guys, which nothing can take you. Guru Granth Sahib has statements but not all the answers. So Bhagavad Gita is incomparable to anything possible, as it also deals with anti-religion too. Like no one can skip Bhagavad Gita. The reason for why Bhagavad Gita is unique, I already have spoken about that in introduction before. Also later you will realize why Bhagavad Gita, that earth is a level beyond heavens. Even the great goddess and goddesses, they want to come to earth. The reason will be explained in Bhagavad Gita, because only from earth you can reach the highest level. So consider heaven as a place where you guys go for your all inner, the wishes that you have to want to fulfill. But that thing is temporary. Only earth can level you up to the final level. So no heaven is a permanent place.
Acharya pitara putra tathaiva cha pitamaha matula shvashura pautra shala sambandhinas tatha etanna hantumichhami Gnatopi madhusudana api trailokya rajyasya heto kinnu mahi krite.
Teachers, uncles, nephews, as well as granduncles, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandnephews, brothers-in-law, and other kinsmen, though they might slay me, I yet have no desire to kill them, O Madhusudan, Krishna, even for a realm made up of the three worlds, still less for this earth alone. The people to be slain are Arjuna's own flesh and blood. As he tells Krishna sorrowfully, he does not wish to harm his kinsmen, although in doing so he might lose his own life at their hands, even for ruling over all the three worlds. In an army formed of 650 million men, Arjuna can see only his own family. Who really are these innumerable kinsmen? Arjuna verily is an image of tender devotion. His dilemma is the one that faces every devotee when he sets out on the path of worshipful adoration, or bhajan. It is everyone's desire that he should attain the highest reality by reverence and worship. But he is filled with despair when, under an experienced and accomplished teacher's tutelage, he comes to understand the fundamental nature of the conflict between the material body and the divine self, and realizes against whom he has to wage his war. He wishes that his father's family, his wife's family, his maternal uncle's family, people who love him, friends and teachers, should all live with him in happiness, and that, while providing for all of them, he should also attain to God. So he is confused when confronted with the fact that in order to forge ahead in his task of worship, he has to abandon his family. Because of his attachment, the prospect of severing the bonds of kinship confuses and unnerves him. My noble teacher, the revered Paramahansa Paramanandaji, used to say, "To be a sadhu is the same as to die." Even if the universe has beings whom he regards as living, there is no one whom the sadhu can regard as belonging to his own family. As long as there is such a one, the feeling of attachment remains. As for this weakness, the one who is striving to realize his self is a winner only when he rejects and destroys his attachment, as well as all the other associated feelings. What is this world but an extension of the ties of attachment? What is there in it for us in the absence of these bonds? The world as we know it is only an extension of the mind. Yogeshwar Krishna has portrayed the same extension of the mind as the world. The man who has withstood and subdued its power has conquered the whole universe. Krishna tells Arjuna in the 19th verse of chapter 5, "The whole cosmos is overcome, even in this world, by those whose minds repose in equality." Such a state of calm, of mental equipoise and equanimity, is made possible by the complete annihilation of ego. This frees the mind from its self-centered subservience to the material world. After ego has ceased to exist, only the self remains in a pure state. So this is the way to attainment of salvation and final beatitude, Brahmavasta, which transcends the transitory life of nature. It is thus that those who have realized this state are not subject to the limitations of the material world. It is not that only Arjuna is confused. Affectionate attachment resides in every heart, and everyone with such a feeling is in a state of confusion. Kith and kin are always in the foreground of a person's consciousness. At the beginning, a person believes that his sacred adoration will be helpful in his endeavor to make his kinsmen happy. A person looks forward to enjoying his acquisitions along with them. But what shall the person do with the happiness if his own people are no longer with him? So it is with Arjuna. His vision has so far been limited to the pleasures that can be had from a kingdom and heaven. He has till now envisioned the ultimate happiness in terms of heaven and a realm composed of the three worlds. If there is any reality beyond this, Arjuna yet has no inkling of it.